Watching someone suffer and not knowing how to help is tricky. It gets uncomfortable and we dance around the pink polka-dotted elephant in the room. But today I have some insight from the most perfect person to share it, a recovering alcoholic who has made a career out of partying. Yep, on this extra special episode of Meghan TV, a dear friend of mine is here to offer practical guidance in how we can be the best support possible to those who are healing, whether that be from an addiction to a drug or to donuts.
Today is the day. Let's make this happen.
This, my friends, is Jen McNeely. Jen is founder and editor-in-chief of She Does the City, a website that offers young women guidance on where to be, how to work, and really real stories of real people. Jen is also a recovering alcoholic, and part of Jen's job is to go to parties where booze flows freely. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
You first outed yourself and your story in an anonymous article in a national magazine.
Yes, I wasn't really outing myself because it was anonymous, but it was my story.
It was your story. Why didn't you put your name on it?
I was just 5 months sober at the time, and frankly, I didn't know if I would be sober, at 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
For me, it was actually more of a way to work out the kind of mumbo jumbo in my head. It was like a creative process that I felt that was very cathartic, and I also wanted to share my story because I thought it would be helpful to other women in my boat.
So it's been, 3 years now?
Coming up 3 years, yeah.
Does it get easier?
It does. Yeah, the first I would say 9 months was incredibly difficult. The first thing that happens is that you lose the craving of drinking. That usually happens, within the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And then it's more about how do you deal with life on life's terms.
Right.
Yeah.
You hang out with me because you just drink green juice and water. You get really nerdy friends like me. If you were going to offer advice to people, not who are in recovery, but those that are supporting people who are changing their habits, what guidance would you give? So let's start with, what would your number one tip be?
One thing you can do to support your friend or your family member is sort of just talk about it. It's part of their life.
Ask how they're doing.
Yeah, ask how they're doing. It's very simple. Or, if you're curious about other questions, like what do you do in recovery? Like how do you stay sober? I don't think very many addicts would have a problem talking about that.
Yeah.
For me, it's sort of like, if you have a friend who, let's say, suddenly decides to dive into improv comedy. And they're taking lessons at Second City, and they're having performances, and they spend 3 nights of their week, doing that. It's a part of their life, so you probably ask them about it.
Right.
So I find it almost weird when people never ask me about it.
Right.
Like close friends, because it's, it's just,
it was what
that's
you
where
did.
I spend my time.
It was part of your identity. Yeah. Okay. So number one would be ask about recovery. What would your second point of advice be?
What happens a lot is that you before you hit recovery, you have patterns of what you do on Friday night, Saturday night, and suddenly you can't do those things anymore. So it's great if you have friends that, are open to going to a movie or finding, there's so many things to do, that are sober activities that are really amazing. It's kind of limitless, but for an alcoholic, when you begin that journey, you're like, there's not everything involves alcohol. I can't imagine, going to a restaurant.
Because you always probably sought out the things that did involve alcohol.
But just as a friend, just creating dates together that don't involve sitting at a Italian restaurant and ordering a bottle of wine.
Yeah, and that leads to your next point, which is change the scenery.
Yeah, so there's a change of scenery, and I think one thing that I noticed, and it certainly wasn't an expectation of mine, but when I had friends that would go out with me and choose not to drink, I really took notice of that.
Right.
And I'd always be like, no, you don't have to. If you want a beer, have one,
Yeah.
But there was something so thoughtful about when people did that, when they made the choice to just, I'll have some Perrier with you,
Yeah. That guidance goes a long way too, not just relating to alcohol, but if you have someone in your home who's healing from something, they need to get rid of gluten or dairy or any of these things that may not be as detrimental long-term addiction-wise, but it is helpful when you have someone, with you making the changes.
Yeah. It just feels really kind,
Yeah.
And then another thing that you can do is if you're having having a birthday party or an event, maybe have something on hand, like a non-alcoholic, fun drink or something. Just little things like that.
Blueberry juice and soda water. Yeah. That's my favorite. And the last one is be patient.
Yeah, recovery takes a long time. I think one of the biggest myths is that, somebody goes to rehab, they're out in 30 days and they're cured,
Right.
Or, they were sober for a month and then they screwed up again. What happened? I don't understand. It's a lifelong journey, and that's why, one of the sort of catchphrases that you'll often hear, whether it's in movies or books or your friends, is just, it's one day at a time. Because it really is, because you don't know what's going to happen in a day, and, if you get some really bad news, or you have a really stressful day, or some financial crisis hits, or, it's hard to say what, but it's easy to slip back into it. So it is an everyday thing. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, so much.
Thank you.
You are hilarious. Your writing is brilliant, and everything is more fun when you come out to play.
God. Thank you.
Please dig in over at She Does the City for loads of fun, loving, and living. Have you been up close and personal with addiction in your life? What has been the best thing that others have done for you when you were attempting to change up your bad habits or break from addictions? The conversation is happening over at MeghanTelpner.com. There is a whole community waiting to hear from you. Get the extra special goodness and sweet offers delivered right to your inbox when you go to MeghanTelpner.com and subscribe to my newsletter. Vibrant health starts with one little choice, and every choice counts. Today is a day to make that happen. I want to see you rise and shine and be your truest version of you. Thanks for joining, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.